Welcome to Speak Up and Stay Alive RadiOh with author, speaker, and your host, Pat Ewww. Serving you a generous helping of everything you need to know to help you and your loved ones stay safe during any doctor or hospital visit. The program is not intended to replace medical advice from a licensed professional, but rather to encourage you to become a well-informed participant in your health and well-being. And now, your host, Pat Ewww.
Try, if you can, to have an advocate with you as much as possible when you're a patient. 24 hours would be good. 24 hours a day would be good. And that person should feel emboldened to ask tons of questions on your behalf. Check everything. Ask every question. Make sure everyone's washing their hands before they touch the patient. The option that no consumer should think that they have is to go to a hospital and just assume that everything will be taken care of. That's not an option.
Hello, and welcome to another week of Patient Safety Tips and Tools. I'm Pat Ewww, your hostess, always thrilled that you take the time to join me each week. You just heard quite a sharp warning from today's guest, an esteemed woman, Leah Binder, named to Modern Healthcare's distinguished list of top 25 women in healthcare. And she's here today to continue and expand upon my upcoming hazard of the week on hospital safety scores and where to go to access this important data. So get ready for that. I also want to remind you of an upcoming and free event at the Wycliffe Library in Wycliffe, Ohio on Tuesday evening, August the 11th at 7 o'clock. I've been invited to speak for 1 hour on patient safety and have lots to say. So make plans to be there. We'll have the book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, the Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide available for you to purchase. $20 for a signed copy, plus many other patient safety items, such as hospital TV remote covers, as the TV remote is the most highly rated infectious item in a hospital room, plus our icebreaker cards to simply hand to your doctors and nurses that ask them to wash their hands before touching you. We have healing CDs and so much more. So grab your best buddy and meet me this coming Tuesday evening, August the 11th at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Wycliffe Library off of Euclid Avenue in Wycliffe, Ohio. I hope to see you there. And speaking of hospital-acquired infections, let's continue with that thought as we approach the healthcare hazard of the week. Last week, my mom, who still gets the newspaper, shared an article with me titled Cleveland Clinic, University Hospitals Facilities Fare Poorly in Infection Rates, Study Says. The article is by Casey Ross and the Plain Dealer, and I want to give full attribution to this and the author, and it was published on July the 29th, 2015. You might have read it, but here it is in part. And I share it with you not to point fingers at either of these hospitals, because I and my family use both of them, but rather to point a finger at the problem so you are aware of it. The article says, Cleveland area hospitals are renowned for their treatment of heart disease, cancer, and an array of other complex medical problems, but a new study indicates they are struggling with something more fundamental, preventing infections. The Cleveland Clinic and University Hospitals both received spotty marks in the study released today by Consumer Reports, with some of their hospitals faring poorly compared to other facilities across the country. The study, which ranked 3,000 hospitals nationwide, reveals that some Cleveland Clinic and University Hospital facilities are struggling to prevent staph infections as well as infections associated with catheters, surgery, and other equipment. In judging the hospitals, however, the playing field is not level. The clinic and UH tend to treat the sickest patients who have longer hospital stays, so it is more difficult to prevent infections than it is in smaller community hospitals. Consumer Reports noted in its findings that large teaching hospitals in urban areas typically do not score well in its study. Patients contract 648,000 healthcare-associated infections a year, with about 75,000 resulting in deaths across the United States. Such infections often lengthen stays and result in billions of dollars in added costs for hospitals, patients, and insurers, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Infections resulting from medical care can cause everything from skin irritation to diarrhea to significant pain and discomfort. In many instances, the damage is far worse, causing longer-term health problems and thousands of deaths annually. Infections are preventable through strict adherence to safety and cleanliness protocols such as hand washing, careful cleaning, and the use of medical equipment, and more targeted use of antibiotics. Using antibiotics in a more precise way helps to prevent the emergence of so-called superbugs that are resistant to treatment. In the study, the clinic's main facility scored worse than the national baseline in avoiding staph infections as well as C. diff and infections associated with catheters. It scored better than the national baseline in avoiding bloodstream and surgical infections. Clinic facilities Fairview and Hillcrest hospitals also scored below the national baseline in the overall avoidance of infections. Shannon Phillips, Associate Chief Quality Officer at the Cleveland Clinic's main campus, said the hospital has instituted a program for safety monitoring and cleanliness and has seen improvements in recent years. She noted that its performance on bloodstream infections, 48% better than the national baseline, is significantly better than it was a few years ago. University Hospital's Case Medical Center scored above the national baseline in 4 of 5 categories, but below the baseline in avoiding C. diff infections. Some of its other hospitals fared considerably worse. For example, Ahuja Medical Center in Beechwood scored below the baseline in avoiding staph and C. diff infections and received the lowest score, 100% worse than the national baseline in its prevention of catheter urinary tract infections. Dr. Robert Salata, Medical Director of Infection and Control and Prevention at UH, said he leads a committee at university hospitals that establishes protocols for preventing infections and monitors compliance. He noted the hospital system has a software system that measures infection levels in real time and long ago developed a strict protocol for antibiotic use. Some local hospitals fared well in the study. Metro Health Medical Center in Cleveland scored above the national average in 4 of 5 categories. It scored worse than other hospitals in preventing catheter-associated infections. And so the article goes, and I left out a few paragraphs just for the sake of time. I'm sure you can find it in its entirety on various websites on the internet. Well, one of my points today is this. Hospital-acquired infections are a reality. And as you've heard, one hospital may have a low incidence for C. diff or staph, but a higher chance of attaining a catheter or bloodstream infection. The article also included a chart of these hospitals indicating where they had problems. A chart with tiny little circles and half circles in black and red, with red being better and black being worse, and a half circle for being somewhere in between. Well, for you and me, as patients, what are we to do with this information? Can we really make an informed decision based on these small circles? Honey, would you rather have C. diff or a urinary tract infection after your kidney stone evaluation or knee replacement? Because our hospital choice will depend on which you prefer. Let me refer to the chart. Or would you rather get MRSA versus a central line infection? Which do you think is worse? Honey? So now that we have this information, let me ask again, what are we to do with it? Bring an armed guard with us? Stay home and take our chances that our health problem will disappear? Risk our life and walk through the hospital doors? And again, I'm not pointing a finger at doctors, nurses, and healthcare employees. I'm about 100% sure that none of these folks get up in the morning with the sole purpose to infect innocent patients. And I'm sure that most of these apparent lapses in infection control protocol are built into the system. The system of overworked, understaffed, undersupervised, under-refreshed, and under financial pressure to see more patients, do more in less time, fiddle with electronic charting and record keeping to the point of underserving the patient in a proper and hygienic fashion. So now it becomes our job, the job of the patient or the advocate, to play police in an area we are unfamiliar with and at a time we are at our weakest. What does the average daughter who visits her mom in the hospital know about urinary catheters? What does the average son who sits bedside with his dad know about MRSA or C. diff as a parade of hospital staff enter and exit the room without washing their hands? Why should there even be a radio program like this? It's embarrassing to have to tell you that it's your job to decipher these difficult graphs and scores and to ask you to stand guard over your loved one 24 hours a day like a cop on a beat. It's ridiculous. It's wrong, and I don't have the final answer, other than to continue doing what I'm doing and ask you to be smart, Be informed. And then, as Leah said in the snippet at the beginning of the program, be emboldened to speak up. Going in for surgery? Ask for a MRSA test upon admittance. It's a simple and painless swab of the inside of your nose. At least you'll know if you already carry the MRSA virus within your body and can take extra precautions. And be mindful of unnecessary use of antibiotics during your stay. Often, the C. diff bacterium shows up after a course of antibiotics. And take probiotics prior, during, and after a hospital stay. Ask daily when the tubes and catheters can be removed. Every extra moment is just another pathway to infection. Bring disinfecting wipes with you or ask the healthcare staff for some, and religiously clean or have your advocate clean your room several times a day. Wear gloves, 1 wipe per swipe. Use many, use them often. The tray table, the TV remote, bed rails, doorknobs. Go on a cleaning frenzy. And keep your own hands clean. And ask your visitors and everyone who enters your room to wash their hands. It is not weird or rude to do this. And I know it's not easy to ask a scary doctor in a white coat who looks all hurried and rushed and important to wash hands. So don't. Print a sign or 2 and post on your door and your bed. Get some of my icebreaker cards, simple business-size cards that say, "I'm concerned about healthcare-acquired infections. Please wash your hands before touching me." Hand them out like trick-or-treat candy to everyone who enters your room. Now, without saying a word, you can make your point in a rather novel way. You can order those online at the shop page at speakupandstayalive.com, or you can call me to order 440-725-5462. And I surely didn't mean this to sound like a commercial. This just popped into my mind as we were talking about asking people to wash their hands. These icebreaker cards are very handy. 10 icebreaker cards are $5, includes the shipping and processing. 25 icebreaker cards are $8, and 50 icebreaker cards are only $12. You will never get a second chance to avoid an infection. And as you can tell from this newspaper article, it's not just me saying this to you. When you open that first hospital door, your life is on the line. Use your power, pull it out from within, find your voice and use it. As the title of this program sums up, you have to speak up and stay alive. And with that, let's hear some legal news you can use. Let's spend the next 2 minutes with our friends at Schraff & King. They always have the answers. Well, David, Peter P. Facebook, if someone thinks they have a malpractice case, what should they do?
We will consult with clients regarding medical malpractice cases, possible claims in that regard. They contact us to schedule an initial consultation. Those will generally be done at no charge. At that point, we'll gather as much information as we can from the client. And from there, it's basically an investigative process. We will examine the information that we need to, including typically medical records after acquiring those, and evaluate the possibility of a malpractice claim, and then we will work closely and directly with the client in making decisions where to go from there.
And if our listeners have more questions, where can they reach you?
We can be reached by telephone at 440-585-1600, on our website at schraffking.com, 440-585-1600.
Great advice. Thank you for taking the time to help us today.
You're welcome, Pat.
Schraff & King. They're conveniently located on Somme Center Road in Willoughby Hills, just south of Route 6. Or you can always visit them online at schraffking.com. Doctors and hospitals, listen up. Want a quick way to improve your HCAP survey scores? When you act quickly on patient issues and close the loop in real time, you will significantly improve your customer satisfaction while improving your operational effectiveness and your revenues. With the feedback solutions offered by Benchmarking Group International, it takes about 30 seconds for a patient to provide feedback. Feedback you can address in the moment. Feedback that will be resolved long before the lengthy patient satisfaction surveys arrive. But don't take my word for it. See it for yourself and request a complimentary, no-obligation 30-minute demonstration. Visit the website benchgroupint.com. That's benchgroupint.com. Or call them 703-688-2860. That's 703-688-2860.
I'm Jerry the Germ with a Speak Up and Stay Alive healthcare and hospital safety snippet just for you. Here's our expert, Pat Rouleau.
Hey, Jerry. Even though you think you're really cool and invisible, smart hospital patients know that you and your buddies hang out all over the place. What am I talking about? Oh, we know your hiding places. Doctors' lab coats, privacy curtains, the TV remote, bed rails, and even hospital pillows. My friends know not to bring their favorite pillow with them to the hospital and then bring it back home. You'd just love to hitch a ride and get out of the hospital, wouldn't you? Well, if we must bring a pillow, we bring a cheap one and leave it at the hospital as a parting gift. No cross-contamination here. For more hospital safety tips, visit speakupandstayalive.com. So ha ha ha, Jerry, we're not sleeping with the enemy anymore.
Stay safe. Listen to Speak Up and Stay Alive RadiOh. For more information, go to speakupandstayalive.com.
You are listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio. I am your hostess, Pat Rouleau, always scouting the planet for a guest with something to say to improve your day. And today's guest fits that description. She is Leah Binder, the president and CEO of the Leapfrog Group, a not-for-profit organization whose mission is to increase transparency at hospitals and healthcare systems and improve safety, quality, and affordability. Under her leadership, the Leapfrog Group launched the Hospital Safety Score, and we've talked about that on the show many times before, which assigns letter grades assessing the safety of general hospitals across the country. Leah has been named on Modern Healthcare's national list of the top 25 women in healthcare in 2013, as well as their annual list of the 100 most influential people in healthcare since 2009. She sits on numerous national boards and councils and serves as a regular contributor to Forbes.com, the Huffington Post, and the Wall Street Journal online expert forum. She's been cited by Becker's as one of the nation's leading experts leading the field of patient safety in 2013. So it doesn't get any better than this. Welcome to the show, Leah.
Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. I want to start right off the bat and ask you, why is your organization called the Leapfrog Group?
Our founders wanted giant leaps forward in the quality and safety of hospital care. And they wanted something that would distinguish them from the crowd of acronyms that we're used to in healthcare. It seems like everything in healthcare is an acronym. It's hard to make an acronym out of Leapfrog.
Well, it's a memorable name. Yes, it is. So under your leadership, the Leapfrog Group launched the Hospital Safety Score, which assigns letter grades assessing the safety of hospitals across the country. But there are other groups touting the same type of evaluation, sometimes with very different outcomes. So as a consumer, this can be confusing. Are the Leapfrog Group scores more reliable, or should we look at multiple sources to help us find a solution?
Well, you can look at multiple sources to understand a rating of a hospital. The Hospital Safety Score, though, is the only system that looks at the errors and accidents and injuries in hospitals. We're laser focused on patient safety. We are looking at what's the rate of infection, and does the hospital have the right protocols in place to prevent the medical errors that can kill people and do kill people every day in hospitals. Safety first. So the first thing you look at when you are looking for a hospital to seek care from, the first thing you look at is it safe? And so you go to our Hospital Safety Score to get that idea. And then you have other questions. Is the doctor good? What's the quality of the procedures, etc.? And there are many other rating systems that can provide you with that information. So definitely avail yourself of the rich array of information that's out there rating hospitals, but safety should come first, so start with the Hospital Safety Score.
Exactly. And how do you determine that score?
We put together a panel of experts. I like to call them the Dream Team, a group of really foremost experts in safety, from Lucian Leap, who is, I would call him the father of the patient safety movement, to Bob Wachter, who wrote the book on patient safety, literally the textbook that's used in most medical schools on patient safety, Peter Pronovost, so a list of 8 really leading researchers who, not only in the United States, but in some cases worldwide. And we asked them to look at what measures are available on patient safety and to help us develop at Leapfrog a method for weighing the different measures that are out there and coming up with one composite measure and a grade. And they advised us on how to do that. And they published the method in a peer-reviewed journal of Patient Safety. Hopefully, it isn't something where you have to become a PhD in patient safety in order to understand it, because it's just a letter grade, A, B, C, D, or F.
So you've done all the work, and the consumer just goes to the site and they can see very quickly. If they want to delve further into it, they can, but that single score gives them an idea of the safety level.
Exactly. And from our first days of existence has had a hardcore commitment to transparency, and we live by that rule. So, yes, we give you the letter grade, and this is different from any other ratings that I know of. For free, you can drill down on that letter grade, and you can look at all the data we used for that hospital and how that data compared nationally. We used 28 different measures to come up with the score, so you can pick a measure that's interesting to you, and you can see how that hospital compared to the best hospital in the country and the worst hospital in the country and the average hospital on every single measure. We also give you the full methodology, as I mentioned, in a peer-reviewed journal, but also on our website. So there's a commitment to 100% transparency in the way this information is presented to you, but also in an accessible way, so that if you're in a hurry and you don't have time to study every single detail about a hospital's safety record, you can certainly interpret an A, B, C, D, or F pretty quickly to give you the indication you need. And you can do it on an app, by the way.
Oh.
So if you're on the ambulance and they say, where to, take a look at our app. It's free. It's a Hospital Safety Score app. It's on Android or iPhone, and that will tell you the grades of hospitals either in the vicinity of where you're standing, or you can search wherever you want.
Mm-hmm. Wow, this is the gold standard resource then.
That's what we think.
Yeah. Give us your website early on here, just so that our listeners could write this down a couple times in case they don't get a chance later.
Sure. HospitalSafetyScore.org.
Okay. Your other website is leapfroggroup.org, or is that 2 different ones?
Right.
Okay.
There are 2 different websites, but you each connects with each other.
Okay.
So leapfroggroup.org is our main website.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. All right. I've studied your website in great detail many times, and I'm thrilled to see the hidden surcharge calculator on the website. I thought that was really cool. It's kind of a door into the secret world of charges for medical errors that you won't find on your bill in bold capital letters. You're not going to say, hey, this is a medical error and here's how much you're paying for it, folks. However, these hidden surcharges are there. So tell us about that.
Well, here's the bizarre thing about the healthcare industry that's so different from other industries. When you experience an error in a hospital, so when you're the victim of poor care or a mistake, when you're the victim of a mistake, you will pay more. So that's a bizarre thing when you think about other industries. Do you go into an auto dealership? How would you react if the salesperson said to you, well, that car costs $1,000 more because the seatbelts don't work?
Yes.
It's unthinkable, right? You don't pay more for worse quality. But in healthcare, when a mistake is made, the costs of that mistake are almost always passed on to the consumer one way or another. Usually we don't see it directly, but it happens. So there was a study done in JAMA, which is the Journal of the American Medical Association, extremely prestigious medical journal, and it was a study by a guy named Epan, and his colleagues, one of whom is Atul Gawande, and they researched a hospital system and all the billing records in that hospital system, and it took months and months for them to figure this out, but they wanted to know, when there was a surgical site infection in that hospital system, how much money did payers pay for it? And they found that Medicaid patients and Medicaid paid about $900 to that hospital system every time there was a surgical site infection, an extra amount. That's the surcharge they paid. They found that Medicare paid $3,000. So those are a lot of money to pay for something that you don't want to have happen. Here's the part that got our attention. That study also found that purchasers, which is my membership, these are employers and other purchasers of health benefits who spend millions and millions of dollars on health benefits to their employees, the purchasers were paying, in this study, $39,000 for the privilege of a surgical site infection. $39,000. You can create a good job with $39,000. And I don't think I met a purchaser who thinks that they want to be paying for a surgical site infection.
Right.
Anyway, so that got our attention. We said, wait a minute. How come I don't see this on my claims data? How much are we paying for these errors? And that's our members started asking us that question. So we brought together a team of experts, researchers, and said, let's see if we can figure this out. It turns out that there is now some good data on how much Medicare pays extra for errors that are made in hospitals. And we were able to tie that back to our hospital safety score and the 28 measures in there. And anyway, what we're able to do is give purchasers an indication of how much extra they paid for errors at the hospitals their employees use. So you can go in. It's a free calculator for anyone to use. It's on the Leapfrog Group website. It's a hidden surcharge Americans pay for hospital errors, a calculator. You can plug in your own numbers or have your health plan do it. A lot of purchasers have been having their health plan come in and enter their numbers. But in any way you do it, again, 100% transparency. We show you the spreadsheet and how we came up with it, what research we used, etc. But what you will find for most purchasers is that they are spending millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in surcharges for the privilege of harm to their employees.
I learned about this the difficult way when my mom was in the hospital 4 years ago for a shoulder replacement, and there was a medical error, spent the next 4 months in the hospital. So what should have been a very simple procedure ended out being 4 months later and a $2.5 million hospital bill.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
And that's when I thought, okay, somebody's getting paid a lot of money here for all of these adverse events, and several of them were what would be considered your old-timey never events. I mean, we had a pressure sore, stage 4 to the bone. Yeah, so that woke me up to this world that I was unaware of. And so when I saw that hidden surcharge calculator, it kind of hit home for me and made some sense. So what's on your hot topic list these days?
Well, I am very interested in how the movement for transparency is going to play out. I think that we must get consumers more involved in making decisions about their own care and pushing on providers to do what's right for the patient. Right now, we do not have a healthcare system where patients have any voice. Hospitals, I know, are not accustomed to thinking from the perspective of the patient on their actions. We see things every day that hospitals do that just make no sense from the point of view of the patient, but make a lot of sense from the point of view of hospital. We need that voice so badly, it's hard to even stress it enough. We need the voice not just at the individual level when you're admitted to a hospital, but before that, from a political perspective. There's efforts in Washington every day that I spend a lot of my time on to suppress data on quality and safety that is from CMS, meaning the agency that does Medicare, to suppress that data from being publicly reported. In fact, Objects Left In is a perfect example. Right now, it is slated for Medicare to stop publicly reporting when objects are left in at a particular hospital. It's part of our safety score, so we're pushing not just because it's part of our safety score, just in general.
Right.
We are pushing for the transparency of continuing. The fact is that the biggest voices here in Washington on health policy are providers. They have a very significant stake, as you can imagine, in what happens with health policy. But so do consumers, and consumers have got to get their voice heard. So I think one thing that Leapfrog has really focused its attention on is alerting the public there is a major hazard to their health, which is safety. And there are things you can do about it at the individual level and at the political level. And really that's been our focus, is to try to find many new ways to engage different consumers.
Great. And that was going to lead me to my next question, was how can patients and family members help improve their hospital experience?
On our website, hospitalsafetyscore.org, we have some information for consumers and some resources they can look for. There are things you can look for and ways you can act when you're in a hospital that will protect you. And the fundamental and probably the most important tip we give consumers is to try, if you can, to have an advocate with you as much as possible when you're a patient. 24 hours would be good. 24 hours a day would be good.
Yep.
But if you can't get that, just as often as possible, and that person should feel emboldened to ask tons of questions on your behalf. Nurse, what medication are you giving right now, and in what dose? And make sure that your advocate understands how that fits with your overall medication regimen. Check everything. Ask every question. Make sure everyone's washing their hands before they touch the patient, etc. There are just fundamental things that your advocate can do. And if you don't have an advocate, you have to do it for yourself. And it's pretty tough when you're lying in that hospital bed with that Johnny on. But you may have to do it. The option that no consumer should think that they have is to go into a hospital and just assume that everything will be taken care of. That's not an option.
You are singing our song. That's what this show is all about, to try to empower folks and inform them and let them know basically what the hazards are, that they are out there, how and why they happen, and what they can do about them. So it's just about becoming an informed patient.
But it's not right.
Oh, I know.
You know, I hate giving the advice because it's just not right. Why shouldn't you feel safe when you walk into a hospital? Hospitals exist for the benefit of the patient, or they should. And I know the people who work in hospitals, I'm certain, want to do right by the patient. This isn't about evildoers that are trying to hurt you, but they, in fact, will hurt you if you are not vigilant as a patient, and it's just wrong. And so that's where the politics comes into play. We have to be sure that our legislators know we have high expectations for how our money, our taxpayer money, is used to invest in healthcare. You know, most of what's spent in healthcare comes from taxpayers. So yeah, we don't have a single payer system. We don't have that in the United States. But most of what's paid for is out of Medicare or Medicaid or federal or employees insurance, et cetera. Most of it's paid for by taxpayers. So you have a right to demand that we know how hospitals are doing, how doctors are doing in exchange for our investment. Those are the kinds of political arguments that we need consumers to get engaged with.
Wow, that's powerful. How can we learn more about you and what you do?
Well, come on our website, leapfroggroup.org. You can sign up for our newsletter, and we'll keep you informed. Lots of ways to get involved with what we're doing. And also, you can go to hospitalsafetyscore.org. You can look up hospitals. When you look up a hospital that you've gone to or that your doctor has recommended you go to, and you see that it didn't get, well, you see anything about it, whether it's an A, B, C, D, or F, go to your doctor and say, I noticed that the hospital that you performed surgery in or that you recommended to me got a C. Do you know what they're doing to improve their safety? Because that's really important to me. That simple conversation can have ramifications for future patients. So you can make a difference just with that simple conversation. Because right now, basically, hospitals do not think patients care about safety. In fact, they also need to know that their market cares, that patients care. And the only way for them to know that is if we speak up.
Oh, that's beautiful. And both of your websites are on our website as well. And we promote Leapfrog Group all the time because they're doing a super job, and it's a great resource for our listeners.
If you go to leapfroggroup.org, search for hospitals, you find your hospital is not voluntarily reporting, then ask them to do so. We could really use the support on that.
Excellent. And I will reiterate that in the future on the programs.
Great. That'd be great.
Well, Leah, it's been a pleasure to get to know you and find out a little bit more about the Leapfrog Group and how you can help our listeners have a safer experience and an outcome. And I really appreciate your being here today.
It was my pleasure, and thank you so much for all your good work and your exposing this important issue with your show.
Hi, I'm Pat Rouleau, and I have a question for you. Where's the best place to be when you're sick? Oh no, you didn't just say a hospital, did you? Here's something you should know. Hospital-acquired infections are one of the leading causes of death, more than car accidents and breast cancer combined. And these infections are preventable. Still, 1 in 25 patients who goes into the hospital without an infection will get one there. So what can you do to avoid this? Get a copy of my book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, The Hospital Survival Guide, and listen to my radio shows. To find out more and to get a copy of the book that just might save your life or the life of a loved one, go to speakupandstayalive.com. That's speakupandstayalive.com. Have fun this summer at the newly renovated Pioneer Waterland and Dry Fun Park. Wet or dry, there's so much to do. 6-story high water slides, lazy inner tube ride, paddle boats, a Grand Prix go-kart track, batting cages, miniature golf, fun zone game arcade, and you'll appreciate the sparkling new bathrooms too. Enjoy the picnic tables and grills or the Splash Landing Eatery. Fun for all ages at Pioneer Waterland and Dry Fun Park, Kyle Road in Chardon, Ohio. For more information, visit pioneerwaterland.com. You are listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. I am Pat Rulo, author of the book Speak Up and Stay Alive, the Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide, found exclusively at speakupandstayalive.com. And if you're not connected to the internet, you can call me directly to order the book, 440-725-5462. Much of the time, I tackle little-known life-threatening hospital hazards in a serious way. And sometimes I include Bob and Joe to lighten the mood and show that we have a fun side. But even though we do silly games like Fear the Wheelchair and our sometimes offbeat radio theater, the underlying theme is to expose you to healthcare dangers and empower you to become informed and to take action. And with that in mind, here we go to lighten the mood segment of the show.
Fear the Wheelchair.
Well, by now, you know that a hospital wheelchair is a high-touch, highly contaminated vehicle that's capable of spreading infections all over the place. So the wheelchair is now this show's representation of all hospital dangers, kind of like our mascot. So here we go, our favorite game of...
Fear the Wheelchair.
Listen, as Joe reads some right or wrong statements. Even though I can't hear you, shout out your answers along with Bob. Is the statement right? Or is it wrong? Joe?
All right, here we go. Right or wrong, hand sanitizers do not kill the C. diff spore.
What do you think, Bobby?
Oh, that's right.
What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
We talk about this all the time because many healthcare providers do not know this. If you or a loved one are in the hospital or nursing home or a rehab facility and someone has C. diff at that location, always insist your doctors and nurses wash their hands with soap and water before they touch you. If they should have the C. diff spore on their hands and use the sanitizer only, you are at risk. Remember, it's okay to ask others to do what they know they should be doing and insist that your visitors and guests wash their hands too. This is not something to be taken lightly.
You got to be careful where you go.
Right or wrong, if you have a complaint about a quality of care received in a nursing home, you can contact a long-term care representative in each state.
What do you think, Bobby?
I think that's right.
You agree, Joe?
No.
Oh, there is a word for this. Ombudsman. A long-term care ombudsman are representatives or advocates for residents of nursing homes, board and care homes, and assisted living facilities. Ombudsmen provide information about how to find a facility and what to do to get quality care. They are trained to resolve problems and complaints. So, if you have any issues about quality of care, go to LTC, that stands for long-term care, ltcombudsman.org. Here's a lot easier. Go to our free stuff page at the speakupandstayalive.com website and just click on their link.
Right or wrong, deep vein thrombosis can occur when sitting in one position for a long period of time.
Bob?
Wrong.
What do you think, Joe?
I think that one's right, actually.
Deep vein thrombosis is when a blood clot forms in a deep vein, especially in the legs. Bob was wrong. Joe was right.
Trying to trick the brain again.
Certain surgeries and medical conditions can contribute to deep vein thrombosis, as well as lifestyle factors such as being over the age of 60, sitting or inactivity for a long time, long plane flights or long car trips, extra weight, and smoking. So if you are flying or driving a long distance, be sure to move around, walk around, and change positions frequently.
Right or wrong, all powers of attorney are the same.
What do you think about that?
Oh, that's wrong.
You agree, Joe?
That's wrong.
Yeah, it is wrong. There is a power of attorney for healthcare and another for your financial needs. Two different documents, both extremely necessary for anyone over the age of 18.
Right or wrong, each year, 1 in every 3 adults aged 65 and older takes a fall.
How about that, Bob?
I think that's wrong.
Do you agree, Joe?
I think that's wrong, too.
Oh, no. Sadly, that is right. And according to some recent studies, 2.3 million non-fatal fall injuries are among older adults who were treated then in emergency departments, and more than 662,000 of these patients were hospitalized. So, folks, let's do everything to fall-proof all of our homes, because we do not want to end up in a hospital for something that is largely preventable.
That's unbelievable.
Right or wrong, we believe in the miracle of microfiber.
What do you think, Bob?
Oh, that's right. I believe in that.
Yeah, it's a trick question.
Oh. Yes, and when it comes to cleaning at home, microfiber cloths hold the soil within the pockets of the fiber and doesn't release it until it gets washed. It actually picks up 99.99% of soil. Then there's not much left on the surface for bacteria and germs to live on. Germs need food and water to live, so if you use microfiber to clean first, there's not much of that invisible feast for the bacteria to eat. We did pretty good today for a change, you guys. We must be getting smarter.
You got it.
All right. Yeah, well, that's laughable.
Yeah, it's so fun. You guys are giving me so many phobias right now.
Remember, the more you know, the safer you'll be. And you heard about it here on Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. Well, thanks, guys, for playing everyone's favorite game.
Fear the wheelchair.
You are listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. I am Pat Rouleau, where the boys and I are keeping you safe during any healthcare or hospital encounter. Coming up, ooh, what's on your lipstick? Stay in your seat. Ew, what's on your lipstick? Well, by now you know that germs and bacteria are all around us. These microorganisms are on and in everything and can easily invade containers. While you're probably used to associating bacteria with your toilet, floor, or kitchen counter, another area you should be concerned about is your makeup. A leading research organization that publishes studies on the beauty industry recently published a report that highlighted the dangers associated with using outdated cosmetics. As beauty products age, they lose their efficiency. But did you know that outdated products can actually be hazardous to your health? So, what's living in your makeup products and applicators? In laboratory settings, the staph bacteria has been found on lipstick, eyeliner, and eyeshadow. When you think about it, most of our makeup products go around sensitive areas of the face. If the products are full of bacteria, what's to stop those germs from sneaking in through our eyes and nose and mouth? For example, bacteria can live on and enter the body through a mascara wand. If the wand accidentally nicks the eye, and we all know how often we've accidentally stabbed ourselves, the bacteria can cause inflammation, rash, or sepsis, which is an infection that can reach and spread bacteria and toxins through the bloodstream. Then there's MRSA. This is one of the most serious forms of staph bacteria that can linger in old makeup. MRSA bacteria can enter the body easily through makeup application and is often characterized by inflammation at the site of exposure, and has been known to cause dermatitis and pink eye infections. It can also show as a rash or an acne-like skin condition. However, it can develop into boils and even spread to the bloodstream, causing serious damage and even death in rare cases. So how does makeup become contaminated? It's not as complicated as you may think. Many of these microbes live on our skin already, even when we are healthy. So every time you expose makeup to the applicator, rub it on your skin, and then go back to the product, you are dunking fresh bacteria into it. Compare that to double dipping a potato chip in a bowl of salsa. How can contamination be avoided? Most products have preservatives to help stave off excess bacterial growth, but to be on the safe side, you should always follow these rules. For lipstick, absolutely under no circumstances should you share lipstick or lip gloss. These products harbor bacteria which can be transmitted from person to person. You can actually catch herpes from using an infected person's lipstick. And since some people show no signs, such as cold sores, you wouldn't even know that you were immediately infected. You can also shave off the top of your lipstick with a blade to eliminate bacteria. Or you could put lipstick in the freezer overnight to kill bacteria, or you can dip it in isopropyl alcohol for 15 to 20 seconds. What about mascara? Again, never share your mascara. Throw away products past their expiration date or those more than a year old. Mascara should be changed even more often, between 3 to 6 months. And don't pump the mascara. This actually introduces more air into the product and creates a breeding ground for bacteria. You can also put mascara in the freezer overnight if you want to kill bacteria. Then what about powdered eyeshadows and cake foundations? All you have to do is take a tissue and wipe off the top layer of the product in order to sanitize it. Some experts recommend that you purchase a bottle of 95% isopropyl alcohol that you can get at the drugstore, and then a small spray bottle. And after or before each use, spray your eyeshadow, your cake blush, or your powder and let it dry. I haven't tried that yet, so I don't know if it alters the texture of the makeup. So here's a few more random tips. Obviously, wash your hands properly before you start a makeup and again after you finish. And drying your hands is equally important. Damp hands spread germs. You can sharpen your eye and lip pencils often to remove surface bacteria. Use diluted bleach to clean non-makeup products such as eyelash curlers and makeup sharpeners. And keep all lids tightly closed and throw out any products with lost lids. You can use disposable applicators and wash your brushes with hot water and soap at least once a week and let them air dry. You can purchase makeup in tubes. Avoid makeup in jars or pots where you have to repeatedly stick your fingers in the container. And throw away any product that smells bad or if the ingredients have separated. And don't blow on your brushes or makeup. This blows spit and germs all over them. And finally, wipe down your makeup bag with sanitizing or alcohol wipes at least once a week. Oh, and I'd be concerned about the cleanliness of department store makeup counters or beauty salons that offer makeup touch-ups after a haircut. No thanks. Well, obviously, dirty makeup is not a major health hazard, but in some instances, it very well could be. When it comes to staying healthy and out of the hospital, I'll freeze my lipstick any day.
Tired of the same old presentations?
Can you forward to slide 38, please?
Are you looking for a new, out-of-the-box topic for your next event? Want your group to leave inspired, informed, and satisfied? No PowerPoint presentations and dim lights here. No snoring or snoozing goes on during Pat's presentations. To help your entire group, organization, business, or church stay safe during any healthcare or hospital experience, invite Pat to speak. Pick a topic from her website or request your own. Visit her website, speakupandstayalive.com, or call Pat to discuss how she can make your next event fun, enlightening, and life-saving. Want testimonials? Go to the bulletin board link at the website for color pictures and comments from real people. Again, it's speakupandstayalive.com or call 440-725-5462. That's 440-725-5462.
You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Patient Safety Radio, and I am your hostess, Pat Rouleau, all about patient safety, offering you ways to stay safe during every healthcare or hospital encounter, and ways to stay healthy and out of the healthcare system. And I invite you to invite me to speak to your group, organization, business, church, or hospital. As you can tell from today's conversations about secondary infections, we have a real problem on our hands, and the only way to overcome it is to be informed. And I find it exciting to remind you that when today's guest was talking about the dream team who worked tirelessly to create the hospital scores she discussed, she specifically mentioned the great father of patient safety, Dr. Lucian Leap, who has appeared several times on this show with me. She mentioned Dr. Robert Wachter, founder of The Word Hospitalist, again a previous guest on this show, and Dr. Peter Pronovost, founder of the Hospital Checklist, and another 3-time guest on this program. So when I come to speak to your group, I come armed with information and tools directly from the top guns within the patient safety movement. You won't find anyone else to speak on patient safety with the background I've got stuffed into my brain. And I'm so anxious and excited to share what I know with you. So email or call me to talk about how we can make your next event not only worthwhile, but lively, interesting, and life-saving. Email me at pat@speakupandstayalive.com. pat@speakupandstayalive.com. The and is all spelled out. Or you can always call me 440-725-5462. 440-725-5462. Leah also stressed the importance of having an advocate 24/7 around the clock. But who knows how to do this? What should you look out for? What should you ask? I wrote the book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, the Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide, with these concerns in mind. I cover all of the hospital hazards, explain what they are, how to recognize when they might be happening to you or a loved one, what to ask, say, and do. It's easy to read because I'm not a wizard and purposefully wrote it to be understandable. It truly is your guide, and after today's program, I hope you believe how much you need to know about this. You know, when this kind of information finally makes it into the mainstream newspapers, you know it's so big that it simply has to be covered. So there you have it. Invite me to speak and purchase the book, 2 Things You Can Do to Avoid Being Next Year's Newspaper Statistic. And be sure to come back next week. My guest found me and sent a request to be on the show. He has a PhD in psychology and wrote a book about neurogenesis. I know, a new word for me too. It's all about how the brain actually renews and upgrades itself. And here we thought that as we age, our brain cells die. Not so, according to next week's guest. I asked for him to send me a copy of his book, which he kindly did, and after reading it, I want to share it with you. So come back to find out how to increase your brain cells and enjoy a more vibrant and healthy life. Same time, same place, but you know me, never the same information. Until then, I hope you have a healthy and a happy week, free from hospital infections and dirty hands. I am Pat Rouleau, and I am your guide to safe and successful healthcare and hospital encounters.
Listen to Pat Rouleau and Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. Stay safe from little-known healthcare and hospital hazards. To learn more, go to speakupandstayalive.com. That's speakupandstayalive.com.
Hi, I'm Pat Rouleau, and I have a question for you. Have you ever visited someone in the hospital and wanted to bring a small gift? Yikes! The flowers in the hospital gift shop cost a fortune, and then they die. Who wants a dead anything during a hospital stay? Well, I have a great idea. Bring a canister of disinfecting wipes and a pump container of hand sanitizer. Place it on the patient's tray table to encourage everyone to be mindful of hospital-acquired infections. And bring a copy of my book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, The Hospital Survival Guide. Just the cover alone is a real conversation starter. Stay safe during every healthcare or hospital encounter. Get a copy or 2 of the book and listen to our weekly radio shows. For more information and to get your hands on your own life-saving book, visit speakupandstayalive.com. That's speakupandstayalive.com.